lot of people don't like her.
Come in. Team, we're doing it again. Team.
She's got a big mouth. She talked trash.
I know this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting maybe in the history of the film industry.
She had faith in them. Although they were meant to keep her safe, supporters are now claiming that Rachel Zegler's own agent may have betrayed her. An increasing number of industry leaks and speculations suggest that Rachel's career-destroying trap may have been set by her talent representative, who also assisted in negotiating her Evita deal. It goes beyond the contract that was revealed. It's the contents of that bargain.
Wait. She's framing this as people not wanting her to win?
Oh boy. She's getting emotional in this clip, but passive-aggressive.
See, she's kind of cute, but once she starts talking, it's so fake. There's many of them.
According to sources, she had a very unique $5 million conduct clause in her contract that was intended to penalize her financially for any actions that damaged the show's reputation. Additionally, it is said that provision was activated when Rachel's backstage conflicts became viral. However, here is when suspicions arise. Supporters think her representative pushed the contract through since they knew about the condition from day one. In any case,
in case you were wondering, no, that has absolutely nothing to do with the new Snow White movie that Zegler has been cast for, the one that she's been hanging on online for the past couple of months that people have been talking about. This is just a huge attempt by her PR team to make her seem like she's apologetic and the thing that she's said about the upcoming film coming out.
Worse, there are now rumors that someone with access to her team may have released the specifics of that provision to the media. Additionally, every indication is that her own team is attempting to disengage before the harm becomes worse. Thus, the issue of what Rachel did is no longer relevant. It's the one who first placed her in this predicament. Because Rachel Zegler isn't only battling producers if this betrayal scenario is accurate, it's possible that she is battling those who were meant to support her.
Fuel to the Rachel Zegler Oscar fiasco. But why have these women, all Disney princesses, all stated as Disney princesses, come out to present, like not include Rachel Zegler, who's going to be Snow White? They're clearly acknowledging Disney princesses from movies that have not been released yet. Someone must have had this conversation and then they purposely left her out, even though she was the only one with a hit movie this year of the four. Did anyone else notice this, or am I over?
Rachel Zegler agreed to what many now consider to be a careering deal long before the meltdowns, disclosures, and backlash. It seemed to be the ideal chance at the moment. Broadway prestige, a renowned part, an opportunity to quiet criticism, and a demonstration of her stage presence. Evita was more than a job. It was meant to be her return. However, recent sources indicate that the agreement was expedited too quickly.
Because, I mean, you seem to be dominating the world of musicals. You're Evita in London, right?
Big Andrew Lloyd Webber fan right over there.
Was that your dad whistling?
Yeah. You guys see Stanley Tucci back there?
It'll be fun, huh?
It's gonna be the best time. It's my West End debut. Excited.
You've done a lot of Broadway.
Yeah, I did Shakespeare 20 weeks. I'm coming off of that right now.
20 with Shakespeare.
It's a lot.
Do they say like the audience in England are different than the American audience?
I've heard they're more reserved, and I certainly didn't have a very reserved experience on Broadway.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we were in a an 800-seat theater in the round, so you really are this close at times, and I'm with the biggest heartthrob in the...
According to insiders, Rachel had just returned from a taxing publicity tour for the Hunger Games prequel, which sparked a new wave of criticism. Managing rehearsals, the press, and damage control all at once left her emotionally spent. The team reportedly seized on the Evita contract when it fell into her lap. Not only was it an excellent match, but it was also a calculated diversion that might change the focus of the news from Snow White to something worthy.
In my personal life, I intend to move forward with a lot more grace for myself as I grow. There is a lot that I don't know, and I won't know it until I learn it, until I feel it, until I understand it, until I can see it in my hands. And I am not broken, I am just learning. My break is not...
Industry rumors claim that the contract had a provision that most performers of her caliber and age would never accept. a penalty clause linked to on-set disruption or reputational injury that is allegedly valued up to $5 million. Legal experts and fans are wondering how they failed to recognize the danger, who allowed her to sign this, and why her team didn't push for stronger conditions. Because it's not only the fine that's alarming, it's the need that someone read that clause and allow it to pass.
Her career is over. But let's face it, Rachel Zegler has no one to blame for this but herself. Clearly doesn't know that she's talking about more than half the country at this point, right? People that she needs to go out and see her movies.
Either her agency was unaware of the legal tiny print, or worse, they were aware of it and yet pushed her ahead. Rachel's career is now on a downward spiral. For all the wrong reasons, she has gone viral. Producers are allegedly at odds with her, and every headline prominently features that provision, the one that she supposedly didn't anticipate. The true drama, however, lies not in what she signed but rather in who first led her to sign it. And what's about to come to light might permanently ruin that relationship.
It seems like it's our fault we hate her. It's not our fault that we don't like you. That's your own doing. And owning up to what the wrong that you did should not involve making the audience feel like you're wrong for feeling that. You're making me feel bad. No, if you want to say that your break will not end or something like that, then look like it. Don't like it. You know, just do not act like you're a victim. It's part of the business. It's Hollywood, babe.
Rachel Zegler's squad first seemed composed. Her team remained silent despite tales of backstage turmoil, cast friction, and early Evita rehearsals going awry. Just quiet. No words. No damage management. However, that quiet began to seem calculated.
Because of what the lead actress has been saying press. Rachel Zegler has been described as a walking PR disaster for Disney. Heard her bag the classic story before.
Because the relationship between Rachel and her staff had already started to deteriorate behind the scenes, according to many Hollywood sources. And it all began when the first Evita disclosures appeared online. According to anonymous Reddit posts, Rachel was causing problems for the actors, skipping rehearsals, and arguing with the creative staff. Her team remained silent as fans argued over whether it was genuine or simply another internet smear campaign. No explanation, no pushback, no defense. And that type of quiet says a lot when it comes to celebrity PR.
I agree that Rachel Zegler as a person isn't the most likely. For someone that was trying to make herself a household name, she did not play her cards right. She did not move with grace or decorum or elegance. So I'm not saying that she doesn't bear any responsibility for what's going on with her right now. She definitely holds at least 80% of it. But she that 20% left, I'm gonna blame that on Gal Gadot. Because hear me out, right? I know too much of women at this point to not recognize a pattern I've seen many times before.
Those with knowledge of the issue started to speculate that Rachel's team was purposefully spinning the story since they were already getting ready to distance themselves. According to others, they even attempted to portray her outburst as a personal breakdown rather than the result of poor management. Because not only would her career be at stake, but also theirs if they accepted responsibility for the contract, the pandemonium during rehearsals, and the deteriorating public image. According to sources, Rachel's now famous reply was the turning moment. The widely shared incident in which she allegedly said, "I won't pay shin" in response to the $5 million clause rumors.
What's her name? Rachel Zegler, if I'm not mistaken. Her is like, I'm not trying to say nothing about her looks. I'm just saying she kind of get on my. If I was in the market to go, I'd be like, I don't know. I'm gonna just go ahead and. I'd rather just go ahead and watch some paint. Let me clean up my garage. Let me clean my bathroom. Actually mop the ceiling with a mop or something. I'd rather do that than to listen to that type of activity.
Her team should have intervened at that point. They allegedly went dark instead. No lawyer, no statement, no press correction. Because Rachel was left to defend herself alone during the storm, fans began to wonder, where are her people? And it became worse the more she spoke. At that point, onlookers started murmuring things that nobody wanted to believe. Perhaps her team's silence wasn't due to loyalty. Perhaps they were protecting themselves by being silent. And the hypothesis that her agent may have intentionally allowed this to occur. Because the subsequent leak, which blasted everything up, didn't originate from a tabloid, that's when it truly took off. It originated from a much closer location. A gossip blog was not the source of the first significant leak. It certainly wasn't from Rachel, and it wasn't from any cast member. Someone with access, someone who had seen the contract, someone who was near enough to know precisely which provision to leak, and someone who was far enough away to avoid being named, was the source. People immediately began to wonder, who gave this to the press? As soon as the $5 million penalties provision appeared online. Because such leaks are not random. There's a reason they're timed, placed, then unleashed. Fans' attention was drawn to Rachel's own squad after they began to dig. Why? Because revealing the clause before Rachel's emotional response, they stood to gain everything by getting ahead of the tale. The timing couldn't have been more ideal, and the punishment was presented as warranted by the book enforcement of a bargain she accepted rather than as a personal jab. Rachel was accused of blaming the actors for the Evita incident only a few days before. Her purported outburst thereafter became popular. The contract information then appears. Fans commented that it seemed too regulated and polished. Frame by frame, a TikTok video with over 3 million views explained how the leak changed the story from Rachel being the target to Rachel signing something and now being angry that it's being enforced. Even entertainment websites such as Lipstick Alley and Duma Thread began to speculate that the leak was deliberate, maybe even orchestrated by someone in her inner circle to change public opinion against her. The problem is that they were prioritizing their reputation above hers if her own agency disclosed that provision. Rachel wasn't being protected by them. They were defending themselves. Everything changed when supporters began to think so, as this was no longer simply another PR disaster. It was an internal betrayal. Furthermore, Rachel's glare wasn't simply plummeting if the rumors were accurate, and the individual who assisted in signing the contract also disclosed the trap that was within. The same individuals who had bolstered her were methodically tearing her down. Fans did what they normally do when they sense betrayal on the internet as the hypothesis gathered popularity. They dug. Furthermore, the information they discovered on Rachel's glare's agent, more precisely, the agency that represented her, only served to heighten the rumors. Insiders in the talent industry claim that this crew has previously been accused of leaving a client when things become nasty. Another up-and-coming actress is said to have quit the same agency in 2021 for mysterious but covert reasons. Fans at the time saw a dramatic shift in her social media tone, a halt in project announcements, and an abrupt decline in her press appearances. Following a public blunder, rumors indicated a clash with management. In a few of weeks, she had discreetly switched representatives, and it wasn't the only instance. This firm has a history of pressuring clients into high-risk partnerships, rushing them for publicity while ignoring long-term repercussions, as many users on Reddit and Broadway World forums noted. These partnerships seem to be press tours, name recognition, awards hype, and career gold on paper. However, they are accused of cutting the cord and letting their consumers suffer when things go wrong. It is referred to as ruthless. Some refer to it as savvy business. This is about power, treachery, and the price of putting your confidence in the wrong people in a field that devours its up-and-coming stars as soon as they lose money. Because if you look at it from a distance, everything seems like a setup from the start, including the accelerated Evita role, the odd contract clause, the backstage rumors that went viral, her representative's silence, and the well-timed leak that reframed her as a liability just as public opinion was beginning to shift. Then nothing. Just Rachel was left to bear the blame. Fine, repercussions alone, with no defense or help. Fans are requesting answers because of this. Not only about the Evita collapse or the contract, but also about who was really in charge behind the scenes. Due to this storyline twist, it may not be Broadway versus Rachel. It may be Rachel against her own group. And the most unsettling issue of all is raised if that is the case. Was this the original plan? Would Rachel's glare have introduced Evita as a clean house? A sacrifice, a means of diverting attention, or a means of reshaping reputations instead of as a redemption arc? The entertainment sector has already done it. On the star, pin the fallout. Keep the handler safe. Proceed. However, there are onlookers this time. Every post, remark, and modification to her management credits is being documented by fans. Additionally, if Rachel ever confirms what many now believe to be true, that she was set up, silenced, and sold out, it may lead to a huge reckoning for her team, as well as for any agency that views young talent as expendable public relations assets. Because Rachel Zegler may no longer have a part, she may have received $1 million fine. If she reveals the truth, she won't be the cautionary story, even if she could be blacklisted in certain circles. The whistleblower will be her. And those who believe they had influence over the narrative will discover what happens when you undervalue a celebrity who has finally stopped keeping quiet.